Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. The topic today is Information Management, a guide on navigating through the IM journey. My name is Luke Lim from OBS. I'm a senior consultant with over 13 years of IT experience. My specialisation within OBS is Information Management. Co-presenting with me today is David from AppPoint. Dave, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi guys, my name is David Dislas. I'm the Technical Solutions Professional for AppPoint. My role at AppPoint is to, understand business requirements and to see what AppPoint tools best fit to, resolve and solve business requirements out there in the marketplace. Look forward to running you through the tools later in the session. Back to you, Luke.
Okay, thanks, David. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just go through the agenda first, which is a bit of housekeeping. So the webinar today is split into two parts. The first will be led by myself around the topic of information management. Hopefully that will go for around 35 minutes. The second part will be a technical demo around AppPoint's DocAv product, which should go for 15 minutes. This gives us roughly 10 minutes for questions at the end. If you have any questions, please enter them into the chat panel below on your GoToMeeting, and in the drop down select organizer and panelists only. And at the very end, we'll try to address all the questions at the presentation. Okay, so moving along, just a short intro about OBS for those who haven't dealt with us. OBS was founded in 1999. We are the largest Microsoft exclusive partner in the Asia Pacific region with over 150 employees spread across Victoria, South Australia, New South Wales, Queensland and Western Australia. We are in the top 10 in the BRW best places to work, which means we attract the best in the business and keep them as well. We have 2 SharePoint Masters working for us, and we have another one as well undergoing certification as I speak. Last financial year alone, we ran over 600 projects and we have clocked up over 1 million hours of experience. So what this means is that when you speak to one of our consultants, they have the backing of all the other consultants with specialist skills and experience. Okay, the key takeaways I would like you guys to walk away from this presentation is 2 points. The first one is take a holistic view. Okay, so from an IM point of view, if you're about to embark on an IM project, what I'm saying is take a step back and review all the major sources of information being produced, stored and used within your organization. Just getting an idea of what is out there and how it's being used will help you with your planning, your communication and identification of priorities. If you are partway through a project, it might be a good opportunity just to review what you're doing and whether it can be refined. Even better yet, partner with a specialist like OBS to get some guidance and experience. Second point is divide and conquer. From my experience, there is no such thing as an IM project. It is a program of works and should be delivered in phases over multiple years. Plan which projects need to be executed first based on the maturity of your organization, its ability to manage change and business priorities. Only bite off what you can chew and build an appetite for IM. You don't want to embark on your first project and fail, leaving a sour taste where the program can be at risk of being cancelled. Okay, get some help. Use vendors for their experience and products to make easy work of complicated tasks. AppPoint is a classic example of enterprise-grade set of tools to help manage and streamline administration work in SharePoint. Okay, so there are 2 key takeaways I'd like everyone in this presentation to walk away with. Okay. So let's just start with a definition of IM, just to lay, the context of this presentation. So in layman's speak, information management is the design of processes and tools to help organizations manage their information so it can be found and used. Okay, so how we do this is through the storage, preservation and delivery of content within a controlled structure and lifecycle. And why do we do this? To support the execution of organizational business strategies by leveraging information to support effective decision making. Okay, Gartner recently published a paper actually titled "Prepare to be an Information Leader," and what they wrote was Create a high-level 5-year information outlook, a board-level outlook on the kinds, types, and qualities of information that will be needed. Work with the innovation leaders within your business to strategize about ways to use information as a driver of business innovation. Okay, so this was published just recently, actually, on May 9th. So what I got from this was, first, organizations need to understand the different kinds and types of information they already have, and then look at the qualities of it. Okay, how you begin this process of classifying your information so you can quantify and understand its qualities is something that I'll go through today. Once you've got that sorted, how then can we get this information to the leaders so they can drive innovation? And this is where a map comes in handy. Okay, and here it is, the IM roadmap. Just kidding. I guess with this slide, what I'm trying to illustrate is taking into consideration risks when planning IM projects. Okay, so getting back to what I spoke about earlier, only bite off what you can chew and build an appetite for information management. In the first part of our program of works, we should aim for low risk, smooth sailing projects. So projects that are high visibility but relatively simple to execute, otherwise known as quick wins. Low commitment means that it doesn't require much involvement from the organization except for some key stakeholders. And a low maturity means processes can still be formulated or worked around. Example of this is publishing portals, internet websites, or simple paper forms that are widely used, such as the employee leave requests. Once you have these projects under your belt, you can tackle more trickier projects, or what I would call, medium risk projects. Okay, things are getting tricky here now. These projects are still relatively visible, but not a quick win. They have a low organizational commitment still, but a greater degree of organizational maturity is required. So processes need to be defined or can be defined without too much effort. So example of this is the conversion of paper forms and processes into electronic forms and workflows. Usually what you call your business process automation jobs. And finally, larger and more longer running projects. And these are your riskier projects, because output from these projects are not immediately obvious. They require sustained commitment from the organization and continued support. Okay. There is a high level of commitment from the organization, as there is a large number of people that will be affected, including their work practices, and medium to high levels of organization maturity. Processes need to be mapped out, which will affect how individuals perform their day-to-day activities. Examples of this is collaboration and document management projects or records management initiatives. Okay, we at OBS use something called the Business Information Framework, which is an implementation guide that takes a holistic view of the activities organizations perform regardless of their size or industry. This helps organizations understand the kinds, types, and qualities of information they're producing so they can better manage it to be more purposeful and targeted towards its audience. So starting in the top left-hand corner, and go through one by one, different areas of information or activities which organizations perform. So the first one is sharing information with the public. So increasing awareness to the public with information you want them to know. Next is share and collaborate with people outside the organization. So whether these are your suppliers, joint ventures, or customers, you want a secured area where you can collaborate with external parties but not give them access to your internal systems. This covers the external parties. Okay, on the inside, internally, you want to share information. So this is your corporate telephone directory, policies and procedures and forms, news and events, HR benefits, tools and resources. This is important information everyone needs to have, and it needs to be up to date for it to be of value. If you're working in a large organization, you may also need to share and target information to specific divisions. Usually this is based on geographic regions. Next activities are going into collaboration territory. So If you can read sideways, work and collaborate with my team on day-to-day operational tasks. Okay, so these are the people that make up your functional teams such as HR, IT, finance, etc., performing business as usual activities. Information here is generally private to just that team, such as employee contracts in the HR department or IT work instructions on updating databases with username and passwords. The information here is targeted to help that group of people get on with their job. Next is work and collaborate with a team of people gathered to achieve a specific outcome. So this is what we normally call projects. We have a defined start date, a target end date, a budget, and subject matter experts that come in and out of the project depending on its life cycle. Information here might be template driven based on processes supplied by your project management office. And when the information has passed its use by date or the useful date, it can be archived to cheaper storage. Moving along to the right then is share and collaborate with like-minded people. These are formal or informal groups of people that contribute to the organizational knowledge store based on topics of interest. Information could be generated in other activities such as collaborating with suppliers on your extranet or working in the project, and that information may never be shared, based on where it's created. So having these formal or informal groups of people collaborating on topics of interest encourages the sharing of information learned elsewhere. Perform a specific task electronically. So these are online applications designed to meet a purpose. So an example of an online application is your electronic lead form with an approval workflow and a calendar type dashboard. Share information about myself and store my personal files. So sharing information about yourself will help improve the awareness of others about who you are, what you do, and the skills you possess. You can also manage and keep your information up to date, such as your mobile phone numbers, skills, and responsibilities. And finally, at the bottom, manage and record evidence of important business transactions. So information is an asset, and some information is more important than others, which need to be retained for legal and compliance reasons. Okay, so the business information framework is a breakdown essentially of activities that relate to the types of sites or work areas. So if I click through quickly, where we talked about sharing information with the public, that's what we call internet sites. Working with your partners or customers, that's an extranet area. Okay, and then sharing information internally is your publishing portal, and you've got a couple of flavors. You can have a divisional publishing portal as well. Moving on then is your team operational area, your project operational area, social and knowledge initiatives, custom applications and business process automation, personal spaces, and records management. Okay, and what we're trying to talk about here is that each area will have its own set of users, governance, and a mixture of technology targeted to help organizations better manage the information in these areas and allow users to access what they need, when they need it, and in the right context. So if I was to go through an example of a typical scenario, let's have a look at a team site. Okay, so let's look in a typical scenario for SharePoint. So a function has a team site, and in that team site they naturally begin performing their day-to-day operations, so day-to-day activities, which is what we call team operations. So creating and accessing work instructions, running meetings, drafting documents. The information in the site is private to that team, and the structure is organic based on the needs of that function. It is primarily list and document driven. Okay, the function then decides, let's use our team site and let's kick off some projects. Let's do some project type work. So they create subsites to manage those projects. Okay, project operations. Documents are created based on advice from the project management office, and that project grows, and subject matter experts are invited from outside that function to the site. So essentially what that team needs to do then is start breaking down security inheritance. Okay, and things now are starting to get a little bit harder to manage with different people coming to the site and trying to organize who has access to what. Okay, and finally the function decides we need to actually raise the awareness of what we're doing and publish information like policy, procedures and forms and contact info to everyone else within the organization. This is what we call publishing. So they go ahead and they start creating a separate area of their site with custom navigation based on how they would like the organization to browse their information. Security is then further complicated and they start getting complaints about it's hard to navigate, and concerns, and there's now concerns around who has access to what information in the site. Okay, so by looking at this, we've got this team site and there's a mixture of different purposes. There's team type day-to-day work, there's project type work, and there's also publishing type work. Okay, and each of those pieces of information is aimed and targeted to a different audience. You've got everyone within the organization, you've got project team members, and you've got also the function site itself. Okay, so the main thing that you need to do is start breaking up these sites into logical areas so that we can actually designate purpose-built areas based on something like the business information framework, and then break it apart and move it into those areas so that we can better manage the information for greater findability, usability and governance. Okay. So what is the approach? So to create a shared understanding and vision that is aligned with the organizational strategy, the approach would be, number one, to understand what are the issues and goals of the organization and focus on the information aspects of business processes, looking specifically at how information should be treated and managed. Okay, after you've done that, you can then start mapping that information to areas in relation to the business information framework. For each of those areas, then you can evaluate, what is the purpose and who is the audience of that information. How should we treat it and how can we manage it in that specific context? Who will be responsible? You can start talking about, the people, the processes, and the tools. And finally, strategize. What areas should we tackle first? Prioritize. What are the next steps? Do we have all the information we need? And how long will this take? Build a map, build a roadmap. Start working out the plan. Okay, so that is just a quick overview of the business information framework, which we OBS run through our customers in helping them understand their information and the activities they perform around that information. And before I hand over to David, I'd just like to leave you with a final thought, which is something which I borrowed from a Zen Home organizational website, which rings true in relation to information management. And that is this quote: "A place for everything and everything in its place." Okay, so knowing where to put the information so it can be properly managed and governed, allowing people to know where to find it so you'll be up to date, uncluttered, and within the context of the task they're trying to perform. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over to David now from AvePoint to talk about AvePoint and run through the typical scenario I spoke about in regards to dealing with having team sites and breaking up that team site into different purpose-built areas.
Thank you, Luke. Okay, I guess we'll start off by saying, who is AvePoint, and how does AvePoint fit into the picture? So AvePoint is the leading market holder for, SharePoint solutions. We've been around since 2001, so that's really when SharePoint was the birth of SharePoint. So we've been with side to side with SharePoint all the way since the beginning. We are a global company. We have offices all over the world in 13 countries over 5 continents and a massive amount of customers, so 8,000 customers worldwide. We are a strong partner with Microsoft, so we get to see all the upcoming new content of the SharePoint platform, so that when Microsoft releases new patches and new service packs, we can then be in tune with that, especially with new versions of SharePoint as well. And to draw on the real part that makes us different to all our competitors is offering that true 24/7 support. So we have a number of support organizations throughout the world that we do a follow the sun approach, so that we have, it doesn't matter what time of day that you call, there's always going to be an engineer there to help you out, to use these tools, to help you, move your structure around, to help you, guide you in that process. So once you understand what you want to do, then using DocAv and using the tools enables you to do that quickly and efficiently. And having that support structure around it gives you that confidence of using the tool and being able to do what you need to do when you needed to do it. So moving on to the, the setting the scene, we have our, if we translate from Luke's presentation, we had an idea of a farm, number of content databases, and then we have that publishing portal and a number of site collections there. This is typically what we have from an organic point of view. All big organizations always start off small. You have a small farm, a single site collection, that's fine for now. As we evolve, as we get more mature about the team operations and the project operations, then we need to start saying, well, maybe we need to move this into a new location. So in the case of Luke's presentation, we want to move project operations out to its own site collection. So Luke, the next slide. So we can move that out as well as the team operations. So the process of breaking that sub-site into its own site collection, using native tools, it's very difficult to do. You lose a lot of the metadata, you lose a lot of the business value of those documents, so that metadata. Using DocAv, we can move those sites and reorganize these sites, and we still retain all that timestamp information, when a document was created, when it was modified, all the versions of that document, all that information we consider to be important business value, and we support managing that elements as well. So we'll move into actual looking at the product itself. We'll move into the demo. Now Luke, I'll ask you to share my screen. So here we have, I guess, a DocAv 6, the new interface. We're going to be focusing around the administration and the content management element of areas. So in our scenario, we have a publishing site. So a typical publishing site with some libraries. We have a project A, which is going to contain some project information. It's now time for that project information to become its own site collection. So we can do that in a number of ways. We can use our tool to look at in this case I have two farms. I have a production farm and a staging farm. It's usually our guidance to do this work in a non-production environment. So we might want to copy the content from our production environment, reorganize it in a non-production environment. Once we're happy with it, then it's time to then push it to the production environment. So we want to also maintain some change control and a release cycle of that as well. So using our tool, we can go into my staging environment. I can select the web application of a question. I can then create a new site collection. So I've done this previously in preparation. So I've created a new site called projects. This will be the new site. We can see in my production environment, I have my publishing site with my subsites, projects, and search. So the approach here will be using our content manager. On the left-hand side, it's my source. So in this case, it's going to be the project site. On the right-hand side, it's the destination. So we're going to put into my non-production environment the newly created site collection, and this is going to be a copy. So part of my plan, we can see here that is a promotion level. So the promotion, or the idea of promotion, is that we have a sub-site being promoted into its own site collection. So the details of that will be, so the details here will be a copy. So we're going to copy it from my production environment to my non-production environment. We're going to merge the settings and all the configurations. We're going to maintain all the security and the content as well. So these are selectable options. So you may want to change the security or remove the security. You may have a template and you want to move the template, not the content as well. So we have lots of options there to allow you to deal with that. We also support workflow in the definition as well as the completed instance. The definition will have all the settings that maintain your workflow. Compression and encryption, so self-explanatory about saving space and capacity of your networks, and encryption for security. Something that's important here is the backing up the environment before running the plan. So being able to back up the environment as part of the cycle, we have the ability of rollback. So when we're going from production to staging, it's probably not as important, but it's when we're going from staging to production, well then we want to have the ability to do the undo button, have that ability to roll back just in case we had some, I guess, error in the delivery of that. How do we deal with conflict? So conflict always happens. How we deal with it is the difference. So we can either skip any resolution and alert us with some warnings. We can either overwrite or merge that as well. So in this case, I will select my plan and I will run that now. So that job is now started, and we'll go into our job queue to make sure that it's in progress. So that will take about a few minutes to go through. So I'll demonstrate some other elements of DocAv while that occurs. So in the administration, we can also do what's called administration searches. So where administration searches can comply to information management is you may have a particular content type or a document or a particular project that has some metadata that is relevant in a way of, I guess, categorizing that content. In my example, I have DocAv documents. So in this case, I want to look at my entire web application. I'm looking for document level content types, and I'm looking for anything that has DocAv within the value of that, so title or within the context of the document. So I'll run that process. Going here, I can see here that I now have these search results. So this will then give me a listing of all the content that has anything to do with DocAv. So I can see that I can select all these items as a whole and then move that in a plan as well. So a way of doing that is looking at all documents within a farm, and you may want to move all those into a particular project site or a particular archive site. The parameters can be based on time as well. So it may be that all documents that has not been modified in 6 months, I want to now move those into a single library or a single site and for review before being deleted or disposed. So that job should have finished by now. So we'll just double check the job. So the project site has finished. We'll now go back into our environment. So this is what the source looked like. This is the destination. It didn't have the project site before. We'll now go into the content, and we can see that that folder has now been moved into this environment, and it has all the documents as we expected to. So it has all the modified date as per when it was originally created, so we've retained all that information. Okay. So that really shows a good way of being able to, one, see the information within your environment, being able to then categorize it, and then move it as you wish. I guess that's really coming to the end of really what I wanted to show in the presentation. We can also show, actually before I move on, I will show you the element of security mapping as well. So typically the first part of doing any of these sort of events is to doing the planning. So typically security is one of those things of concern where we want to understand what people have access to. DocAv has a solution to this by having a security search. So we can select the site of relevance, so in this case the entire publishing site. We then want to look at the security search. So publishing permissions. We have the choice here to either drill down on an individual user or group, or if we leave this blank, we want to have a report of all the permissions within that environment. So we want to look at for all the permissions. We have the choice to actually be, I guess, quite selective in what permissions we're trying to drill down on. In this case, we'll go for any permission. We have the ability to search or to filter the search component. So you might want to have a particular site collection or site or library excluded from the search. And we can also do this on a regular basis as well. So as a way of managing permissions, we can get a schedule once a month to have that report sent to the content owners or I guess the owners of that content. So we'll run that now and we'll see what the end result is of that. So that does take about 20 minutes or half an hour to actually go and extract that information. So I'll go and look at one that I've done previously to show you the impact of that. So under Central Admin, we will filter the jobs. We have a user permission site. So in this case, we have the search result. So the idea is that we create a plan, we create a search, it then gives us the results, and we can then go through and manipulate those and export those into a CSV file, make large changes as well. There's the list view as well as the tree view as well. So depending on how you like to see things visually, it gives you that flexibility there. We can also select any of these groups or users and make adjustments on the fly as well. So this is where I put the ominous warning into when you are making changes, and especially in a bulk level, to do them in a non-production environment first to make sure that you have the right plan and the right configuration set out. While I'm here as well, I'll also show you what it looks like to have the rollback process for content management movement. We'll just close that. So going back to the job monitor, we can see that the project sites, if we select the job, we see we have the ability to roll back. So simply by selecting this button, we can then either override